Hi, everyone. Welcome to yet another episode of WTF with the delightful Angela Heise and the fantastic Alan Stevens and the really ordinary Dr. Chris Willems, myself, I. Um, Last time we were talking about men, we sort of focused on men, and this time we're going to focus on women. And so obviously we need to let Angela take the running on that conversation.
Again? I thought I took the lead on the men. Okay.
Well, that's all right. We have to let you start.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Is that one of those? Well, because the one thing that I've noticed, because that's how this whole thing started, was that men do the whole single tasking thing and women do the multitasking thing. And so if you want to know more about the single tasking, watch the other episode. But this is about women, and this is my experience working with women and in women groups and all of that. Women often have this desire and this absolute driven want, or not want, obsession almost, to take care of everyone else around them. It's almost like they can't feel good about themselves unless everybody around them feels good.
Mm.
And it's that whole, and also the thing that really gets me is this women suppressing their needs of, they're completely needless because, they have to take care of everybody else. And the one thing that I find is that when you read obituaries, women are praised for their ability to be totally selfless, lose their self completely. Like she was always there for everybody. She was, like, is that really that helpful? I mean, do we have to be this way? That's my question. Or do you experience women this way?
An expression that I heard fairly recently was women, they put themselves at the back of the queue all the time.
Mm.
That's really what
Mhm.
I'm saying, isn't it? And I thought that was a really elegant way of saying that. And I don't know whether it's a historical thing, whether it's an evolutionary thing, because typically, traditionally women looked after families, and so yes, they had to look after children and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a natural outcome of that, I suppose. But yeah, these days it's really apparent that that's no longer okay. That's
Oh.
not what's supposed to be happening, but it kind of is, and that can be an internal subtle thing as well as a societal thing.
Mm.
I think there's a
Well,
lot.
as we were saying in our previous conversation, it's a lot of it is internal wiring. It's part of our DNA, the way we've always functioned. As Angela, and that, by the way, I had to wipe a couple of tears away from my eyes because we were laughing so much before we started this, talking about things. And that's what I love about these discussions. We've just had such a great time with them before and also during. But Angela, you were saying how if somebody is, a woman's feeling cold, she'll put a scarf over the shoulders of the person next to her so they're not cold. Us guys, we just turn around and go, "You're cold? Put a jacket on, you dill." You know? And I've experienced that myself. I've been at the pub with the mates and I was talking to a young woman. I'm shivering a little bit because it's cold, the wind's blowing through, it's the middle of winter, and she's rubbing my shoulders to warm me up. I thought that in that moment, that was pretty cool. I didn't want the guys doing it. They can keep their hands to themselves. But it just shows that women are quick to then take up that mantle and look after the people around them, whereas men were wired differently.
Yeah. Well, I had to say this to quite a few women when I do leadership development with them. I say, so when you go into meetings, what do you do? And there's often this, they pour water for everybody and all of that. And I say, stop doing that. As soon as you do that, you've downgraded yourself to assistant level, no matter what status you've got, because you've just become the helper.
Interesting that's an interesting example that you used there, Angela, because when I coach for a long time, I've been co-coaching with a very high achieving woman, and when we're in that boardroom and with the client, I make sure as the male, I make sure that I'm the one who pours the water in the glasses. It's a deliberate decision for all of those reasons,
Yeah.
because I don't want the assumption to be made that my female co-coach
Hmm.
will have to do that. And I quite enjoy doing that. I quite enjoy just changing the dynamic in that way. It's a very subtle thing, but it just changes the dynamic and it sets up an expectation, or it sets up a non-expectation that it's the woman's role to do that.
Yeah.
See, as you pointed out, it's something that you've consciously thought about.
Mm.
The issue is women don't need to consciously think about it. They just do it because it's part of the wiring.
Yeah, indeed.
But I think if we want to have a version of equality or equal respect, men have to start thinking about this and being able to put themselves in that position, lift the woman up, elevate them in the role as well, show them that yes, we are treating them as equals, etc. That we do those jobs as well. But the thing is that men have to think about it. Women just do it, which I think is in some ways in business roles, it's a shame. In the home, having a loving partner is absolutely brilliant. But in that business role, I think women need to take that little bit more time and go, okay, without competing, because competing doesn't work, how do I then step out from being that expected to do everything for everybody else to the role where I am equal to the others? And this is where men can then help that as well by doing that for them.
Yeah. But it's so unconscious. I mean, I have been in meetings where, you know, there would be somebody would immediately turn to the woman and say, can you organize this? And it would be, you know, like whatever it might be. It would be not the man, it would be the woman would be asked to would be asked to do that. And I mean, I sometimes been in a situation where I go, no, I'm not. You know, that's not my task. Ask somebody else. And the response is often, what do you mean? You know?
Yeah.
Because the expectation is when you give it to a woman, she'll do it. Right? I don't know. I mean, it's just, I just find it really interesting how.
Yeah, I was just going to say, well, in putting it into your hands at this point and saying, right, how do you feel when, there we go again with that technology.
Yep.
Angela, how do you feel when a man takes that role on, as Dr. Chris has said, he will then put the water out and do other things like that. If you, instead of a woman jumping in and saying, yeah, okay, I'll take that role, or an expectation that she will take that role, for a man to actually take that role.
You want to know something?
Of things.
That would be another WTF thing. But women do things naturally, and men, if I'll be honest, I wouldn't thank you for it. I wouldn't go, whoa, look at that, Chris is pouring the water. Because I just, for me, it's just a normal task.
Yeah.
But,
when I do that, I have no expectation of being congratulated.
Yeah,
or
but
anything.
a lot of men expect
that's
that.
right.
I mean,
The background I put in was a broken mirror.
Let me put it this way.
Yeah.
During the pandemic, when both partners, you know, men and women in whatever constellation were at home, right? And they would, like, lots of nice backgrounds, Chris. Okay. It was still the women who did 80% of the housework.
Yeah.
You know, even though both partners were at home. In a heterosexual, I don't know what it would have been like in a differently, you know, in an LGBTQ environment, but women automatically do these things and men don't. They have to be asked. That's my experience. And when somebody really comes in, I mean, I know that when I married my now ex-husband, but we got divorced for various other reasons, but I came home one night and we were going to go out, and he had warmed the towels. He had put my, you know, the clothes that I was going to wear, he'd ironed them and put them out and all of that. And I was like, oh, you know, that's just lovely. Because when I went to visit my father, he would say, here, iron that shirt. And I would go, no, I'm not doing that. That's, I you know, sorry.
Well, you'd be delighted to know, Angela, that I iron all of my own shirts and feel very proud doing it too. But just the background I've chosen this time, this failure time, is a broken mirror, and I thought, well, that's fairly appropriate for the technology. It's an analogy for the crap technology that we've been using in this series of WTF, because but it's an analogy for our fractured society. And a fractured states of mind. So yes. So that's God telling me to change the background, Chris. You need a better analogy.
Talk about mirror, a broken mirror. I mean, I just read an article today to say that female teachers in the UK do not feel safe anymore because misogyny has gone through the roof, where students actively tell the teacher that they will not listen to her opinion because she's a woman.
Wow.
And it's just, and I feel that this is why I want to have this conversation, you know, like, because there's a sense that we're almost devolving, you know, like we've worked so hard on creating that sense of, you know, equality. And I definitely have worked hard on that. And all of a sudden, we're supposed to go back into the kitchen
Yeah, it's bizarre.
and do all of these things again.
This is definitely a big a conversation, another WTF, because a lot of it is the lack of rites of passage for boys, the broken families, the lack of men guiding boys and teaching them how to do things the right way. And boys are growing up without that respect.
Well, indeed,
that's a massive issue.
In the education context, it's become so feminized that I know there's a particular school that I know very, very well, and there's only 2 blokes teachers out of, I think, 120 staff. And that's really dangerous, because there, as you say, Alan, there isn't that balance. Aren't those male role models to educate young males about about respect and all those kinds of things. So it's a really horrible situation. And what you say there, Angela, about what happens at schools in the UK, I just think that's scary.
Yeah, well, as we were saying, that's an obvious conversation, a bigger conversation, but it comes back to the respect that we have for each other, and the consideration, taking that time out to understand how the other partners, people around us, the different genders, etc., think, and listening to understand, so that we build stronger understanding and therefore better relationships.
Yeah.
Well, indeed. And sorry, Angela, go on.
I was going to say, bringing it back to how we started, the let me call it, what do we call it? The woman as the octopus, who has to, do all the, the tentacles everywhere and doing all of these things. Again, that's what I'm saying is we don't need to keep that, like women. If men and women are equal, they will see things that have to be done. And yes, we need to step out of our biology. Women don't then have to stop doing everything, and men probably have to do a little bit more, right? Because what is it that said the other day? What would happen if a man stopped doing household chores, taking care of the children, and doing other things just for one day? What would happen in your world? And the answer came back, nothing. Because nothing. But it's just, again, what are we going to do? And this is where I would say, come and visit the Campfire Project, where we have all of these wonderful conversations,
That's it.
which we're not covering
based on
in
respect.
WTF because they are more rands.
Yeah. So, just on a bit of a lighter side, if there is a woman out there who's like an octopus, give me a call. Always, I love hugs. Lots of arms, beautiful.
I think we all love hugs, Alan, and so we should. So we should. And these days, I don't think we get enough of them, because we're on devices, and we've spoken about those things many times before, and no doubt we will again. What occurs to me, though, doesn't so many of these things come back to respect,
Everything,
or lack of, and so, our sort of tagline of building bridges of respect, one conversation at a time, just keeps being reinforced every time,
That's it.
we're in. So thank you, Angela. Thank you, Alan. And we will see you in the next episode of WTF, and hopefully the technology will not fail us again. Thanks very much. See you next time.